Hi, Pat the podcast editor here. In this ever-changing world, staying ahead of the curve is key. And in today's episode, Dan and Lloyd explain how they've always managed to stay ahead of the curve in the world of marketing.
The Independent wrote an article about me saying, exclusive, Snapchat guru Dan Knowlton shares his secrets for social media success. We were creating content on it, using it a lot and speaking about it a lot within our content.
Ahead of the curve, thinking about Snapchat and hairstyles, potentially.
And Dan reveals some of the things we're focusing on here at Knowlton to keep that ahead of the curve momentum going.
Now in 2023, again, we're innovating again, looking at the shift in social platforms, how they're really optimizing for vertical video, and also more recently AI.
And we're kind of early adopters of different things rather than waiting and using it when the masses use it. And that's what has helped us grow and stay ahead of the curve and get the benefits of that.
Now, before we dive in, we'd like to take a second to thank our sponsors, Adobe Express. Adobe Express allows you to quickly and easily create standout social graphics, logos, flyers, and more on web and mobile. Click the link in the description to try Adobe Express today. Right, let's dive in. This is episode 140 of the Business Anchors podcast.
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.
How can founders of businesses and also marketers stay ahead of the curve, Dan?
By being proactive. I think something that, we've historically been good at this. I don't want to blow our own trumpet too much. We've been rubbish at lots of stuff, but historically, I really think we've been good at staying ahead of the curve, and I think that's what's helped the success of our business.
You don't want to blow our own trumpet, but that is starting an episode really blowing our own trumpet hard.
But I do really believe this. I do really believe this, and I want to give you. I don't just want to say that. I want to at the start of this episode. I just want to give you a bit of a history of how we've done this, and then we can break down like what makes us good at staying ahead of the curve to share.
Well, there's so much trumpet blowing going on.
Oh, Lloyd, I'll be completely honest about things that we're not good at.
Yeah.
But we have been good at this.
Okay, nice.
And I want to give you evidence now.
Well, yeah, please provide me with evidence. I want to see how we're so good at staying ahead of the curve.
So I think something that's I'm going to go through the history of Knowlton in a second, but something that's helped us be good at staying ahead of the curve, and it's to do with this, is how we've evolved as a business. Things change in the world externally, and we stay ahead of those changes and then make internal changes of how we do things.
Can I ask a quick question?
No. Yeah, go on, you can.
Why do founders and marketers want to stay ahead of the curve?
Because
can't I just be comfortably slightly behind the curve?
They can, but I think when you're ahead of the curve, you progress faster. There's new technologies that help you do a better job, like AI we've spoken a lot about recently. But for us, staying ahead of the curve has given us that USP that helps customers want to choose to work with us over other, maybe more like traditional video production companies that make pretty videos but don't actually understand how to get them in front of the right customer at the right time. And
yeah. Also, I think there's like absolute pioneers like Elon Musk and what he's doing, the people that do things first.
Yeah, we're just under that.
Yeah, just after Elon. But that's kind of my point of like, that's really expensive and tough and takes a lot of work and intelligence to be the pioneers of things.
Yeah.
But actually, being just slightly behind of that, but way ahead of everyone else is relatively much easier than being the first people to do things. And I think if you're like not ahead of the curve and you're lagging behind, it does pose a lot of risks. You know, like when we were back in the day when we were posting stuff on Facebook because organically we were getting loads of views and that was helping our business. If we carried on doing that now, we'd be so far behind the curve and not getting any results for us or our clients.
Yeah.
And then it's a massive risk, isn't it?
I'm going to make a quick prediction. I think that a lot of people listening to this are going to really take action once we go through this whole episode because they'll realise how important this is.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, thank you for answering my question about why we want to stay ahead of the curve.
Yep.
Please now continue telling me how we do it.
Well, quick backstory of how we've done it. So looking back to around 2016-ish, when we started out as a business, the main focus we had in terms of marketing was, like you mentioned, on Facebook. Organically, you could post something and loads of people would see it. You know, also, if you had like a few thousand followers, a lot of those followers would see your content, which made sense.
Nearly all of them most of the time.
Yeah. But over time, that dwindled. And it's the classic model of a social platform. They give you lots of organic reach. So you go on there going, wow, there's this new platform that you can post something. You get lots of organic reach. You can reach millions of people, like TikTok now. But in those days, it was Facebook. And then once everyone flogs to the platform, then Facebook cleverly thinks, oh, we can monetize this.
Quick, I can't let that go. Everyone flogs to the platform.
Flogs? Not flogs.
Flogs?
Flogs, that's it.
Okay. I just didn't feel, as an older brother, I couldn't let that go without taking
Flogs
the
to
mick
the
out of me.
platform. Thanks, Lloyd.
Everyone flogs over there.
Flogs to the platform, and then Facebook monetize it and say, basically, you need to pay for ads to reach those people who you were normally used to reaching. Because marketers are like, oh, our performance is declining. We have to run ads to get that. So that's how most social platforms, like the evolution of the social platform, how they get loads of users, then monetize the users.
Yeah.
Right. So for us, we're always looking for underpriced attention. This is something like Gary Vee says in the early days.
Yeah.
Where can we get in front of the most people we're trying to sell stuff to for the cheapest cost in the most efficient way? And Facebook was at the time, but then that was started to dwindle. Also, at that point in our business, a lot of what we did was training. Training.
Right, yeah.
So, not all of it. We supported companies and marketing stuff, but a lot of what we did was delivering
training and consultancy and that type stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
As an example, in I think it was 2016 or 2017, I flew out to Dubai and delivered training for like the head of digital at FIFA and companies like Citibank and Nestle and stuff. And that was like a... Yeah.
I was just saying, I stayed in our tiny office at the time and did the rest of the work.
Yeah. So you didn't get to come on that trip, but we were delivering training, going into companies delivering training, doing a lot of strategy and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what we were mainly doing. That was 2016. Then in 2017, something pretty interesting happened. Snapchat started to grow. So when Snapchat came out, that completely revolutionized the way that social platforms work. So traditionally on a social platform like Facebook, we're used to like a news feed where, you know, everyone knows you scroll through and there's content there and it's like, oh, that's interesting. And it's all scrolling through on a news feed. What Snapchat did was completely change the user interface of a social platform. That was the first thing it did. So it was like a swipe up, down, left, right user interface, which we're very used to with like TikTok now. But that was like a pioneer in the day.
You kind of forget Snapchat like changed the game, didn't they, with social platforms? Yeah.
Also, what Snapchat did, which was really interesting, was it built a platform around, I hate this word, authentic content that wasn't highly produced. So people just had their phone and like would just create content like, oh, look here, I'm here. And like there was these cool filters you could create, and it was very creative.
Everyone made themselves a little dog with a tongue out.
A dog with a tongue out.
That was great for about a year, wasn't it?
Yeah. If any of you anchors are listening, you remember that, then
that was me being a dog with my tongue out. Sorry. On Snapchat.
Interesting in that area. So this is back in 2017. It's funny looking back. I remember going out and doing a talk in Dublin at an event, and The Independent wrote an article about me saying, exclusive, Snapchat guru Dan Knowlton shares his secrets for social media success.
Snapchat guru Dan
cringe.
Knowlton.
If you Google that, you'll see it. It's really cringe. I've got a perm in the picture.
I love that you've got a perm as if, when I was in Dublin in the 70s. No, it was literally 2017 or something.
I've got a perm in that picture.
Right, we just need to stick on this slightly longer. Like
we'll carry on.
That wasn't a thing that people did in 2017, was it?
No.
No, I was going to say, it wasn't like, oh yeah, that was the cool... I don't remember that era.
No? Back in the 2017.
You know, when everyone had perms. No, literally no one except Snapchat guru Dan Knowlton had a perm.
More recently, my nephew and younger kids and stuff have been getting perms. So it's...
Yeah, is that because you're forcing them to?
No.
Recently, my nephew has got a perm when I've made him get a perm.
Young kids and stuff. But anyway, that's like 7 years on.
Yeah. Okay, so Snapchat guru Dan Knowlton had a perm in 2017.
Yeah.
Nice.
So really, Snapchat was a pioneer in those days, and
you were in a way.
And I was in but we had to position ourselves as that and fully immerse ourselves in the platform to understand it, which is what we did, which is why I got asked to speak at events about Snapchat, because we were creating content on it, using it a lot and speaking about it a lot within our content.
Ahead of the curve, thinking about Snapchat and hairstyles, potentially. Too ahead of the curve.
So that was really the pioneer of that type of content. So we shifted to talking a lot about Snapchat. Then in 2017, something really interesting happened. We basically tried and tested lots of different types of marketing in that period from like 2016 to 2017. Like we said, Facebook, Snapchat. But we wanted to try something new, and we wanted to create ourselves a testimonials video that would help us get more business. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, Lloyd, we were like brainstorming, like, how can we actually had some all right small companies that we'd done some good work for at the time.
Yeah.
How can we create videos of them saying how brilliant we are without it being boring? So we came up with that idea.
Normally no one gives a shit about that.
No one gives a shit about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, can I please watch this thing about your customers talking about how good your business is that I don't give a shit about? Yeah, great.
So we came up with this idea to create a testimonials video where we'd go out and shoot those boring clips of our customers going, we love working with Dan and Lloyd.
I don't know if you remember, one of them didn't even get the name of our business right. Yes. I've really loved working with Knowlton Media. Like, what? That's not even close to what we called.
Yeah. I don't think we corrected him either.
No. Let him carry on. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that was great.
So we went out and shot these videos. And then what we also did to make it interesting was Lloyd and I dressed up as different characters and pretended to be our own customers, commenting on how brilliant it was to work with us. And Lloyd developed like these witty scripts where we'd say sort of funny things about, oh, Dan and Lloyd are great. And we had weird characters, like I was a dolphin trainer, Lloyd was a butcher. And we bought all these wigs and weird outfits and stuff. I remember in the garden, I literally was like crying because it was
that is a shoot I really remember, even though it was years ago.
I love it in the garden, in our parents' garden.
Yeah. There was a point where I had to just film myself because Dan couldn't be in the same room because he was laughing so loud, giggling like that.
Yeah. No.
And after about 10 takes, like, can you please go so I can actually just get this done?
It's when you had, like, you were this character and half of your fake tash was falling off on purpose. And you were just telling the camera, like, Dan and Lloyd helped me change the world. And it's just brilliant.
Yeah. Well, that's good you enjoyed it.
So anyway, that was 2017. We did that. We posted it online. Worked incredibly well. Like, we got more new business than ever. Lots of people commenting on it, saying how brilliant it was. And that was our first moment of, again, evolving how we were working and realizing we can create content that is really fun and interesting and entertaining that customers or potential customers love watching, but it's got a highly strategic sales focused message that helps us achieve something like generating new business. And that was our first moment in 2017 that again shifted the way we started marketing for brands that we worked with to implement that kind of new approach to working. Then 2019 and 2020, we started to create more video content. Like everyone and their dog was talking about how video's the new thing, every video on social and stuff. So we started to create more video content, and started to implement that innovative marketing approach with brands we were working with. Then in 2020, COVID happened. Something I haven't mentioned is prior to that, a lot of the way we got new business was speaking at events. Do you remember? Going around, I'd go to events and speak. Lloyd would hold my bags. And then COVID happened. So again, we had to innovate and think, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. That's when, February 2020, we started the podcast. And I think this was driven by you, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Saying...
Big innovator.
Yeah. I think because lots of people were listening to audiobooks and things, and we thought we need to try something new. Then we started this, which was an experiment. And at the time... For a year, this didn't generate a huge amount of new business, but now most of our new business mentions the podcast. Mm-hmm. Now in 2023, again, we're innovating again. We're looking at the shift in social platforms, how they're really optimizing for vertical video, things like with TikTok coming into the scene, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels.
Sorry, sound like an absolute boomer. With TikTok coming onto the scene. Thanks, Grandad.
And also, more recently, AI. You've seen us, if you're an avid pod listener, talk a lot more about AI. the advances in AI are mental. I saw this morning that Elon Musk and a few other people have signed a petition to stop advances in AI past ChatGPT 4 because they're concerned that it's going to be detrimental to society.
Really?
Yeah. I literally saw that before just coming on this pod because of how
powerful
it could change
basically.
society.
Yeah.
I think, they were like, there need to be laws and things before it goes any further.
Yeah.
But that's a history of us really evolving and shifting based on external factors.
And I suppose us staying ahead of the curve with, I mean, you mentioned 7 or 8 different things there that we, I guess, learnt about, started implementing for our own businesses and our clients when they were at the early stage, and we were kind of early adopters of different things rather than waiting and using it when the masses use it. And that's what has helped us grow and stay ahead of the curve and get the benefits of that.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I guess, to go into, now we've given a bit of a history of how we've been quite good at this. I think we should dive into some of the practicalities of anchors listening. If they want to be staying ahead of the curve, like what types of things they could actually be doing.
Yeah. Can I start with one that I think is really relevant to what you were just saying and our kind of story? And it's one of our core values because we believe in it so much. And it's to strive to be the best and look for improvements in everything. And previous places I've worked and other businesses we've worked with and things, I think, don't do this enough. And there's a strange thing in business and outside of business, I think, just human behavior, that we're like weirdly loyal to how we've done things in the past, like processes of how we do things. And there doesn't seem to be any benefit other than maybe a bit of feeling of comfort, like, oh, I've done this before. And I just think there should be zero loyalty to previous processes. It doesn't make any sense. So even if you've just spent 6 months working on something and then you've done it for a week and then you've realized there's a better way, what is the point of carrying on doing it the same way? I think constantly looking for those improvements in how you're doing things is really, really important. What are you smiling about?
This is really cringe, but I'm going to share it anyway.
Yeah.
Your point there, like, really reminded me of when I first did a talk in the early days. There was a slide at the end that had a quote on it that's really cringe that I thought was really motivational. And it was like, I think it was something like, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. Or something like that.
Den Nelson, 2016.
So cringe. And I thought that was like really impactful.
But, well...
I mean,
that's just a different way of saying it. But that is the thing. And people are loyal to these processes. Oh, but Susan's worked on that for the last 3 weeks. We can't now improve the process and do it differently. Yeah. Why? You're basically saying Susan's worked out this shitter way to do it, so we should probably do it that way for a bit so she's happy. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Susan will understand that there's a better way and we need to keep improving. And there's no reason to be loyal to the previous processes.
I think this is something that you've really driven in our business, and we have spoken about this before, but isn't it because of the one lecture at uni you turned up to that was to do with critical thinking or something?
I suppose, it's linked to that, critical thinking, and basically always questioning why you're doing things or why things are done a certain way. And a lot of the time, you ask, oh, is this the best way we can do this? Or like, why are we doing it like this? And the team will have answers. And that will be like, oh, great. Yeah, that justifies why we should carry on doing this. Good. But a lot of the time, you say, why are we doing this? And then the answer is, oh, yeah, I suppose it's just because in 2021 we did this thing similarly like this. And then it's like, well, hang on. Yeah. Now we've got these AI tools we're using and now our team is stronger and we've hired these people that can do this in a better way. So why are we still doing it that way? And that's what pushes you to do it better. And that's why when you were talking about back in the day of us producing videos on Facebook and stuff to promote our business when we were a lot smaller, you can see every step of the way how much and how quickly we've improved what we've been doing. Yeah. And that is because of that. And I used to feel so cringy looking back at previous stuff because it'd be like, oh my God, what we used to do was so bad. But I think that's a good thing. Like if you're not looking back and cringing, that means you're doing the same sort of stuff now. You should be looking back at what you did last year and thinking like, oh God, that's a bit cringe. Like I could do so much better now. And I know our team do that. Like even with our shoots, like because we improve so quickly and we're doing better and better work all the time, we'll look back at a project we worked on 18 months ago and be like, oh man, we do that so much better now because we are improving so quickly and our team improving their skills and processes. I think it's just so important to stay ahead of the curve. Like why we've been talking about AI and started working on these processes that implement these AI tools is because we've asked, could it be worth trying this and seeing if there's a better way or that it could help, rather than thinking, that's a bit scary, that new thing over there.
I think historically, looking back at what we've done, I think the times we've implemented the most innovative ideas and innovated the business the most is when things aren't going to plan. Mm-hmm. I think when everything's going all right, it's easier to be complacent and be like, yeah, it's all right. And like you slowly go, progress. Yeah. Whereas when something sort of fucks up, basically.
Shit hits the fan.
Yeah. You're like, we need to change something drastically. And then even like us, we've drastically changed things because things haven't been going well. Whereas, I don't know. So I think it's good sometimes to get a reality check of, wow, things maybe aren't going as well as we thought. Then it's time to innovate. But I guess it's important to try and be proactive to not get to that point.
Yeah. But I think, also on the positive side, we have ambitious goals. So even when things don't go wrong, when things are just going quite well, but we're not in line with our ambitious goals, we think, shit, okay, we need to do something differently. Because if we carry on just doing things how we are doing it, we're not going to get that ambitious growth and hit these ambitious targets we've got.
I think that's another good actionable thing for anchors, like have ambitious goals. Because if you don't and you're just steadily moving along, you're not going to be trying to innovate and find those things that are ahead of the curve to start implementing and using to grow and improve faster.
Yeah.
Something else, another actionable thing that I think is really important is following creators that talk about things that are ahead of the curve. Yeah. For example, so practical example recently, I know if anyone's on LinkedIn, you've probably seen lots of people sharing those LinkedIn document posts about ChatGPT use cases, and like everyone's doing them and stuff. But something I've recently done is started following the people who are posting the really interesting ones. Yeah, because now I'm starting to see in my LinkedIn feed the things that have been, like for example, ChatGPT launching apps the other day was because a random dude I followed the other day on LinkedIn talks about this stuff. I followed him and he started talking about it again. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really important to note that you have to learn new things to stay ahead of the curve. So if you're ambitious as a founder of a business, or if you're in a marketing team and you're trying to progress up that kind of corporate ladder and do really great things, I think you won't do that without learning new things. And I think if you're a founder or if you're someone in a corporation working in a marketing team, you know that your time is very limited. So I think it's really important that you find a way to enjoy learning, because it's likely that you might not have time to do that learning as part of your day job or your 9 to 5. And something that's really, I think, helped both of us is, for me personally, I really enjoy learning from audiobooks. And like I like getting out in nature and going for walks and stuff like that. So I will find time to go for walks and listen to audiobooks, and that's where I do a lot of my learning. I think some other people really enjoy watching YouTube in their spare time. Yeah. So how about following a few content creators that, like if we use the AI example, again, there's some content creators around AI. Why not subscribe to a few of those? And during the time where you're enjoying yourself watching YouTube in the evenings, start learning from those. But I think finding a way to enjoy learning that fits in your kind of life and routine is really important to stay ahead of the curve, which is a challenge, finding that time.
Or find a podcast that talks about these new innovations that you're listening to and click that subscribe button just so you don't miss any of that content. Do you know what I mean, Lloyd?
Yeah.
Like if you were listening to one now.
Yeah, maybe even a podcast like this, like Business Anchors, just making sure that you are following or subscribing on any platform to make sure that you have the opportunity to learn in the future from that podcast.
I feel like this is a weird, like, subtle manipulation that we like. You're like, just...
that whole point wasn't planned to do that, by the way. I genuinely mean that. Yeah. And people enjoy learning in different ways, and that's why I sort of was saying my example of I like learning from audiobooks. So recently. listened to the kind of autobiography of the Disney CEO, Bob Iger.
You said you loved that, didn't you?
Yeah, and it's all about kind of leading in creative industry. So for me, I learned a lot from it. It was really great, and it was a really enjoyable listen, and I learned shitloads from it.
Was he reading it, or was it a random American computerized voice?
I think it was him.
Yeah.
Which is,
cool.
This always best when they're read by
I will
the author,
download it then.
Yeah, but find the way of learning, because you might not. I know my wife, when she takes a mick out of me for audiobooks, because she's like, it's so weird just hearing someone read you a story. And I was like, when you say it like that, it is weird. Yeah. But maybe you like reading and you want to read before bed, or like I said, maybe it's YouTube, or maybe
in-person training or learning, or going to events that are
doing courses, in-person events, and hearing from industry leader, whatever that thing is. Try and make sure that you dig out time in your busy schedule to learn, because if you're just getting things done and it's chasing your tail on to the next thing, you might be doing good work, but if you're not learning, you're not going to stay ahead of the curve. You're going to stay where you are.
Yeah. Something else that made me think of was another actionable thing anchors can do is join communities of your peers who are talking about this stuff. Like a practical example, Lloyd, of us, the agencynomics community. Yeah. We recently hosted an event about Web3 recently, a few months ago. Yeah. And they've, like, there was lots, we're not like Web3 experts, there was lots of experts there talking, and we got that opportunity to go there and listen to the speakers and host, because we were part of that community where they're always talking about new things in our industry that are coming into play that could help us. So
I think it's important in those kind of situations as well. Like, try and get curious and ask questions. A lot of the time we've got so much going on that we're thinking about our own stuff, and you might be in a room full of people. If you ask questions and show interest in what other people are doing, quite often you can learn a lot from them. Yeah. Like an event like that, say, spoke to 10 people and just asked a bit about what they're up to and stuff, and you learn a little thing from each of those people, you're going to come away from it in a far better place. Whereas if you just kind of didn't really ask questions or just spoke about yourself, which is a habit a lot of us fall into. I'm just going to tell you about the stuff I'm doing, and you get out of it and you think, well, I haven't learned anything. I've just been talking about what I've been doing for a while, which might have felt good for a bit.
I was going to say, there's two types of people at an event. There's the people that come up to you and talk at you, and then there's the people that come up and ask you stuff. And it's like, which one do you prefer?
That's the big point.
To speak to?
Yeah. Not only are you going to be liked, but if you want to stay ahead of the curve and learn things, are you going to learn from speaking to people?
This is what I think.
Or are you going to learn from asking questions and hearing about other people's experiences? Yeah. And sometimes you learn from people by thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to do what they did. Yeah. It's not always learning like, wow, that's an amazing thing. It might be like, oh, this is what I'm doing in my business, and we just really love profit, and we just fire people immediately if they're shit. And you might learn, oh, well, that sounds like a horrible way to run a business. That's okay too. It's not all positive.
I feel like this is ironic that we're doing this on a platform where we're speaking at people.
it's hard work, but at the same time, we actually ask each other questions and kind of learn from each other. But I mean, it's hard to ask you listeners stuff. Yeah. But what do you think?
I'll make for a terrible episode.
Ah, interesting. Thank you.
That's like those spam calls you get where it's a recorded voice and they leave a gap.
Oh, hello. Where you think it's a hello.
Thank you,
and you go, oh hi, who's that? And then it butts in. Oh, it's great to hear. You're not what? Why are you speaking like that?
Lloyd's been caught up for hours having chats with those things. He's a bit lonely.
A great chat with them.
Do you have any other sort of actionable things that you think we do to stay ahead of the curve?
I've got one more.
Yeah, go on. Let's...
well, actually, actionable. Yeah, I suppose it is actionable. Right, I listened to
anything useful to say, Lloyd?
I listened to an audiobook recently.
Classic.
And it's actually a bit of a different one. It's about philosophy and stuff. But so this might be a bit fluffy, but or maybe like me, it will really help you. But they mentioned something, this statement that the past doesn't exist, which sounds weird, but what I got from it is like whatever
the past doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
So like the only the only thing that can change anything in the future of what you're doing is like something in the future or right now.
Yeah.
Like nothing that you can't change anything that happened in the past. So it doesn't exist.
Wait, I'm sorry. I've got a picture that this is like someone running like a utility warehouse pyramid scheme. They've convinced you to go to their talk or something. They're just trying to sell you something. Are you sure this is a real thing?
No. Well, it's by a philosopher. It's like a philosopher.
Is that what they call themselves as?
A lot of people listen to philosophers and think, "What a load of bullshit."
Yeah.
I probably should have thought that.
No, go on, sorry.
But what I'm meaning is, like, no matter. So if you think, oh, well, actually, previously I'm not really ahead of the curve. I'm just I'm doing all right in my job, or like I was a founder. I'm kind of feel like I'm following other people really, but I don't really feel like I'm ahead of the curve. Like, just the only things that can change that is what you do now or in the future. So I think just
right, okay.
For me, it's really when I felt a bit in a rut, like work-wise or something, and felt like, oh god, actually, I feel like I've fallen behind a bit like that. Like, oh, my kind of leadership skills with this team. Oh, I'm not doing that great. Or
I thought the
like,
same,
I think, what we're doing on Instagram, I feel like we've lagged behind a bit in that. And you can get like, okay, well,
yeah.
I guess that's what we do.
That's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, and the reality is just at every point thinking, okay, what can I do now to change things? Because the past doesn't exist. So what I do now is going to shape what happens in the future.
Yeah.
So it's a bit fluffy, but for me, it actually really helps because no matter, I think of it with my health as well. Say I just finished a Big Mac meal, like you can think, oh man, like I'm such an unhealthy bastard. May as well have a McFlurry now. Other ice creams are available. Or you can think like, oh shit, okay, fucked up a bit there, like. But moving forward, I'm just going to make sure I'm really every decision. Now, right, I could get a drink of this Coke now, this super size. Do they do those anymore? Super sized Coke. Or I could now make the decision to have some water and hydrate myself and start being healthy. And it's those decisions moving forward that actually make a difference. So quickly make them rather than getting that thing of, okay, I guess I'm just behind the curve slightly. That's who I am.
Nice. So what was your point? I'm joking.
The past doesn't exist, so I didn't say any of that.
Cool.
So the only things that matters is how good I say things in the future. So I'll say better things in the future.
Nice.
You got any other ways of staying ahead of the curve?
I've got two
Anything more actionable and less fluffy?
Two more quick things.
Yeah.
One, schedule time to actually work on staying ahead of the curve. I think it's like, for example, with the whole rise of ChatGPT and AI, Lloyd set up a Slack channel in our Slack, and we now have a monthly meeting or every 2 months where we talk about how the team are using AI and how it's helping them, and we share those lessons and we talk about it and think, how can we use it more effectively?
I also have an hour every week in my calendar that says AI time. Like, I know that I will never get to the end of the day and think, oh, got a couple of hours spare, so shall I try and do some learning? So I've put it in my calendar and been like, no, this is going to happen. I do think this is important, so I'm going to make sure I have the time for learning. And it's the same we've done with some of our team this month. Like, a big thing, we've been like, right, we really need to make sure we all have time for training and learning. So we've been putting that time in before we book in the client work and things like that, because it's like, no, we need to make sure that we can do the best job we can for our clients and for ourselves. So we need to learn that stuff, and that's important. And
the final thing is really important one is to embrace change rather than reject it. I think I'm still even seeing other people in our industry and stuff that are saying AI is rubbish. It's not gonna, no one's gonna be able to make content that to do with, like, it's like, why think of it like that? Why not think of it as there are some really useful ways you can use it rather than, I guess it comes down to the fear factor that some people are potentially a bit scared that it's going to take, like copywriters and stuff with ChatGPT. It's really taken a lot of the things that they do and made it a lot easier. Obviously,
I think it's fine to voice concerns about change and also talk about the negatives of potential change. But I think it is quite clear when you really look into it, a lot of this stuff comes from a state of fear or defensiveness. Like you said, you're a copywriter, and suddenly a lot of people online are saying copywriters aren't needed. You can do it with ChatGPT. Obviously,
that's not the case.
And to be honest, maybe if that was me, I'd probably be posting stuff thinking, well, I've got to defend that I'm really good, and And so it does make sense that humans are like cling onto that. All right, I'm going to defend what I do. But I think it is far better to embrace change and think, okay, how can I make this a positive?
A great final book suggestion for that: Who Moved My Cheese? A classic that Mark Knowlton made you and I read when we were about 12. It's like it is, again, it's picture book, so I like it.
A classic way Mark Knowlton tells us to do something if he feels it's really important, it's really going to help us. This is how he says it. Boys, you must read this book. You must read it. Promise me you'll read this. Promise me you'll read Who Moved My Cheese. You must read it. That's like the other day when we created a video.
Oh, yeah.
And he stopped me.
I spoke to him about this.
And he said, "Hi, Dad. You're probably listening. This is my impression of you. Lloyd, promise me you don't tell people how you made that video. You must keep that secret." Thank you, Mark Knowlton. I really appreciate it. When you say it like that, I know you feel it's really important.
Oh, no,
sorry for taking the piss out of you.
So just while we're on that note, I went round Mum and Dad's the other day, and Dad was saying, found out about Lloyd's finance situation at university that I didn't know about on the pod the other day.
What?
You know, you were talking about how you just ate like vodka and pizza, and you got loads of loans out. You'd wait until your university money went, and then your overdraft went, and until you got notified that your card was declined, then you'd get a loan out.
Yeah.
Dad was like, "Yeah, found out about that the other day on the pod."
Yeah, I suppose it probably wasn't. I probably didn't tell them about that at the time.
Anything else you want to? Yeah. This could be a counselling session, Lloyd. Anything else you want to share?
Just trying to think if there's anything else I should tell Mum and Dad. No, Dad, I'm in a really good place. Money's fine now. Very good at managing that for the business and my personal life. Anyway, hi, Dad. Should probably carry on with the pod for the rest of the listeners now.
I think we're at the end anyway, aren't we?
Okay, so sorry guys, that was pointless for you to listen to. That was just for Dad. Special bit for you, Mark Knowlton.
Quick call to action, Lloyd. Go on, take it away.
Quick call to action. Yeah, if you've liked this, Mark, give me a text.
No, subscribe, people. Click that subscribe button now.
Stay ahead of the curve. Do you know who people? Do you know who's behind the curve? People that haven't subscribed yet. So it's your choice. Yeah. You could stay ahead of the curve, be up there with Elon, like we are, or you can stay behind the curve, not subscribe, maybe miss out on a really useful episode in the future. But, that's fine. Just stay in the past. Past doesn't exist, mate.
And we'll see you in your ears next week.
Sorry, I could tell you wanted me to stop talking then.
Yeah, you got the look.
Still doing it.